PASA uses the annual taxable value of properties to determine the amount of water rate chargeable on your property. So when you see this annual taxable value of your property is increased, your water rate is also going to be increased. So higher property tax, higher water rates, higher cost of living. Mr. Speaker, at the end of all of this, of course, is if you cannot pay, your house will be seized. When we look at the industrial properties, increases on industrial plant and machinery, of course, that will have an impact upon the cost of manufactured goods that are being sold. They will be passed on to wholesalers, retailers, eventually to us, the consumers. When we come to the commercial properties, you will have an increase in rents, tenants in malls, and small business and so on. That too will be passed on in the cost of goods and services. The price of goods and services obviously will go up. For example, if you're running a supermarket or grocer and so on, and you have to pay additional taxes now on your property, much higher taxes, is going to be passed on to the consumer. You're not going to bear it. The agricultural properties, an increase in the tax on agricultural land. And why are you taxing agricultural land? When you say it's a priority to develop agriculture and have agriculture grow, you want to tax agricultural land. Why? When you do that now, you're going to send up the price of food even more, because that has to be factored into now as one of the costs of production of whatever you're growing on your agricultural land. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance put out a full-page advertisement on the 11th of September, 2009, to give clarification about how this new tax will be calculated. The increase with the new system of property tax ranges now, Mr. Speaker, between an increase of 623% for properties such as in Palm East to 982% increase, properties such as in Union Hall, San Fernando, and going up from $1,200 a year in St. Augustine to about $9,720. The property taxes, Mr. Speaker, can be something that will go through this country, Mr. Speaker, and create great unrest. It has the potential for doing that. Everyone, as I said, is going to be affected by this new property tax. But on top of that, there will be legal problems. There will be serious legal problems with this tax. You will recall in the year 2000, the UNC passed the Land Titles Legislative Package. 3 acts: Land Adjudication Act 2000, Registration of Titles Land Act 2000, Land Tribunal Act 2000. 9 years later, these acts have not been proclaimed, have not been implemented. But we have a situation in the country where 47% of all households do not have adequate title documents, Mr. Speaker. 28% of all occupants do not have any title documents at all. And then you have approximately 50,000 squatters, in inverted commas again, regularized persons to be regularized. Again, no proper documents, no title. We know, we say land is money. Land is life, and access to land remains very important, Mr. Speaker, as a mechanism to overcome poverty, to generate livelihoods for households. Access to land is important for social reasons. You have secure property rights, Mr. Speaker. You buy in, you belong, you're part of the society. From a legal standpoint, security of title is measured on the basis of the title, the paper title. And that's what this whole package of legislation for. So I ask, why has it not been proclaimed nor implemented? How is that going to affect the property taxes? It will. It will. You should have done that before you attempted to bring in these property taxes. You have brought the land reform package, land law reform package into the law and implemented in the law. In Tobago, Mr. Speaker, they have a serious problem about this. In fact, they had set up a special committee for Tobago to go first with respect to these. Only up to recently, I remember Senator Eastland Mackenzie, when she was here, speaking of this on numerous occasions. Because all land in Tobago, Mr. Speaker, the process was that it would be mapped and registered and so on. You will have a new registry in Scarborough. You would have a new land tribunal to deal with title, and all land in Tobago to be accounted for. But what has happened is, because you don't have that, there's serious problems, because the title dates back, they were estates and dates back to hundreds of years, Mr. Speaker. And those titles are so dating back, there are people now who do not have any paper title. So when you go to assess this property, who are you going to assess the tax against? A dead man? And that's the same thing here in Trinidad. A lack of documentary title is prevalent throughout the country, Trinidad and Tobago, because of this concept known as family land, where land is occupied by successive generations of the same family, but you have no formal or documentary title. And, Honourable Speaker, I do know you're well aware of this from your conveyancing practice. A lot of it just passed down through the families. It's recognized throughout the Caribbean, but neighbors have done something about it. And so we are going to have problems with, with that assessment, taxing, and so on. I would recommend, Mr. Speaker, first of all, that the property tax be withdrawn, be scrapped, be removed completely at this time. That WASA now install their meters, of course. That you implement the package of land law legislation, Mr. Speaker. Now, we know that governments can and want and expect taxes, Mr. Speaker. We accept taxation. You say, you take the injection needle when you go to the doctor. It's necessary. It is a nuisance, Mr. Speaker. It's necessary. But we cannot lose perspective. It is not about ideology or philosophy, Mr. Speaker. It's about pragmatism at this point in time to survive the economic crisis. But don't go and prey upon the ordinary man and woman in this country to get your monies to go continue flying on entertainment and propaganda and contract employment and all a host of other things, to pay yourselves these very huge salaries. And why it's not more than that, Mr. Speaker? Given the harsh times we're in, the economic downturn, Mr. Speaker, given that the Prime Minister's salary is $67,000 about a month, the other ministers 40-something thousand, non-portfolio another 30 or something thousand, CEOs 30s, about Prime Minister's package, salary and allowances is about $67,000 per month. Per month. Take the SRC report.
You see, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's salary and package is in the public domain. The honourable member of Siparia just wouldn't even take the time to subscribe to accuracy. The figure is just totally wrong. It is less than that.
65,000? 60. I have checked it, you know, and I have it in my document. Okay, I'll tell you how much it is. I will tell you now. I will tell you now.
How much money you get for doing nothing?
I will tell you now from the SRC report.
But that's joke to the backmen. What the backmen produces, that's joke.
How much money you making?
The Prime Minister's salary package is over $67,000 per month. Ministers over $46,000 per month. And non-portfolio members, Mr. Speaker, also receive a substantial amount. Mr. Speaker, when we go to the CEOs, no, I'm repeating it because that was my information. If it is wrong, then tell us what it is. I went into the SRC report. No, you're just wasting my time. It is, Mr. Speaker, what I've said. If I am wrong, correct me. And so, Mr. Speaker, we see these... no, I don't want to see your payslip. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we know the CEOs in these companies and so on, they collect massive amounts of money. There was a story report carried in TV6 by Sasha Mohammed about NITCO, about the CEO there working for $50,000 a month, taxpayers paying a personal cell phone bill of $33,000 a month. Mr. Speaker, we do not know all these special purpose companies, what the salaries are. And so I'm saying, set the example from the top, from the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, to the State House, cut the salaries now. Slash the salaries, Mr. Speaker. Because we are in harsh economic times, you have to take the cuts. And so I come back to the property tax, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind this government of history with respect to taxes. You remember that Dr. Williams introduced the PAYE tax collection. It required adjustment, and we got the monthly deductions and so on with the paychecks. In the 1980s, the NAR introduced a value-added tax. That created considerable resentment, and indeed, it was one of the reasons Abu Bakr gave as part justification for the attempted coup. The Boston Tea Party way back in the US history, Mr. Speaker, was about taxes too. And when we talk about the salt tax in India also, what happened there? You will remember that Margaret Thatcher, her undoing, she met her water with what? Poll tax, Mr. Speaker. That was people per head in a household. And I'm saying the property tax, it is not necessary at this time. A man's home is his castle. We could add it is his temper. And it is much more than chattel. It is very threatened, Mr. Speaker, for the long arm of the state now to reach into that castle and into that temper, to attempt to extract monies to keep up their high-flying lifestyles. As I say, cut it and cut it now. And so as I come to an end, Mr. Speaker, I just want to touch on something that is very simple. I understand, Mr. Speaker, all our institutions have been shaken. You know, we're on this kind of verge of collapse. And I have been told, I don't know if it is true, but I understand that the President, whilst he's on vacation, is considering resigning. I don't know if it's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do not intend to mislead us. Not you, Mr. Speaker, but the members will.